Good morning, everyone. Hope you're well, and welcome to today's Meet the Employer session with CGI. And I also realize it's not morning anymore, it's afternoon. So first thing first, a huge thank you to our BSL interpreter and captioner. You'll be able to see them on the screen here and be able to follow everything. Please do be interactive, share your comments in the chat box, add your questions to the Q&A section. We will cover and come to them all at the end. But without any further ado, let me introduce all of our speakers today. So I'll go to all of you one by one. It tells your name and your role at CGI. First, let's start with Andrew number one, Andrew Mack.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. So I'm Andrew Mack. I'm the Talent Acquisition Director for UK and Australia here at CGI. So I'm responsible for all of the experienced and early careers hiring across the business. And recruitment is a big priority for us as a business at the moment. So very busy.
Thanks, Andrew. And Lindsay.
Oh, you're on mute there, Lindsay.
I know, I just realised. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Robertson. I'm the HR manager in CGI, and I cover Scotland and Ireland. Not in Ireland.
Brilliant. And Beth?
Hi, my name is Beth, and I'm the Senior Health and Wellbeing Consultant for UK and Australia, and I'm based in Bridgend in Wales.
Brilliant. And second, Andrew.
Hello, number two, Andrew here. Thank you. I'm a software engineer and I've only been working for CGI for about 2 years, and maybe Andrew Mack gave me the job, but anyway, I do software development and things like that, testing, based in Leatherhead.
Fantastic. And finally, Shantanu.
So hi, I'm Shantanu Datta, and I'm a senior consultant. I'm based in Chippenham, but I often end up in the Reading office. So I'm I've been with CGI for 2 years, and I came in through CISIS acquisition.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And really looking forward to chatting with you all today. So first thing first, who is CGI and what type of roles do you offer? Because it's not a name that everyone will be familiar with, and we could have some context.
Absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of who we are, we're an IT digital transformation consultancy, a Canadian-owned company. You may have heard of Logica previously in the UK, and they were acquired by CGI some years ago now. I think as it globally, we're sort of early 70,000, about 73,000 as an organisation in the UK, just under 6,000 members. And in terms of the types of roles that we offer, and essentially, you know, it's broadly specialist IT, and you know, across the broad range of all disciplines that we recruit, from software development, architecture, DevOps, testing, project managers, BAs, you know, more senior leaders, directors of consulting, and VPs, vice presidents within our business practices. We operate across quite a broad diversity of industries, aligned to businesses like local councils, telecoms, utilities, healthcare, oil and gas, but areas such as financial services, insurance and banking, our infrastructure business, central government, space, defence and intelligence. So, you know, we cover a very broad range of industry sectors, and probably about 90% of the skills that we bring into the business are IT skills, but we do also recruit broader business change skills, and also, you know, into our corporate functions like finance, HR, legal, procurement, etc. So yeah, that's just a sort of a broad brush of what we do and the roles we typically offer. We are recruiting heavily at the moment, and it's a very buoyant recruitment market, I would say. So yeah, certainly very open to discussions with anyone with the right skills for CGI, and very open to all individuals.
No, that's brilliant, Andrew, and it's great to hear that you have such a variety of roles, and it's not just IT, and I'm sure there'll be people here who'll be interested in IT, but there'll be people who might want to transition from another sector they're currently working in to work at CGI. And yeah, absolutely. On finding great candidates, let's touch on that a little later, and you can give your tips of how to apply or what people can go through. But before we get there, tell us, like, why in your industry, why at CGI, do you feel it's so important to hire disabled people? Like I don't know, yourself or Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start, Lindsay, if that's okay. So, I think, not just disability, but I think diversity in general, it brings a much greater variety of ideas and perspectives and experiences to the workplace. And we very much encourage diversity at CGI. I think inclusivity is one of our top priorities, whether that's, disability, neurodiversity, or indeed, gender, LGBT+, BAME community, etc. But, I think diversity in general is a very positive thing within our business. And, it's important that we reflect, that the broader society within the workplace and all the diversity of ideas and input that can bring.
Oh, that's great, Andrew. That's really good. And Lindsay, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I think it was quite succinct. And in addition, I think it's given us access to a much broader range of talent and skills and experience, which supports the growth of our organisation. As Andrew alluded to there, we have a wide network group of, so Disability Network is part of that group. So we're extremely focused and making sure that we have that spotlight on all these areas, and we're bringing that support and network in place to bring all those skills and experience together.
No, that's really good. And it's good to hear that it's not just something you feel you have to do for legal reasons or for numbers, and then actually it's part of a wider initiative to help the business and recognizing that there's talent that you can bring in to improve things for all of your colleagues and for the people that you work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's really, really great. And we've been very, very, very fortunate today to be being joined by Beth, Andrew number 2. We have to find something better to call you, I think, Andrew number 2, without this getting confusing. And Shantanu. So I believe all of you have disabilities, neurodiversities, conditions that CGI have supported you with. And it'd be really great if you could share your stories and tell us a little bit more about that, because at Even Break, and I'm sure you're aware, we actively promote 2 candidates with disabilities and health conditions, and we want them to realize that employers, that getting a job is possible. We want them to know that employers like yourselves are willing to accommodate. So maybe hearing your stories will inspire people here today to apply as well. Let's start with Beth.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think you're so right in that. So I am very relatively new to CGI. So I've been with them for 7 weeks, and I've actually joined from a communications and charity background. And it's actually come about that I'm working for CGI because in October, World Mental Health Day, being a mental health and neurodiversity advocate, I gave a talk about what it's like to struggle in the workplace. And it was from there that I got asked to apply and be part of the health and wellbeing team. And throughout my career, like many of you maybe, I struggled with the workplace, mental health issues. I couldn't complete tasks. I got overwhelmed really easily. I eventually got burned out and I would have to leave jobs. And it always made me feel like I'd sort of failed at those. And it was only after I was diagnosed as autistic and with ADHD in December 2021 that things actually started to make a bit more sense. And so I was nervous about joining CGI because I really wanted to do well in what is a dream job, but was really kind of aware of my past experiences. And so my interview was done on Teams, which immediately for me was more accessible and made me feel at ease. With ADHD, sometimes I get a bit nervous or a bit twitchy and I sort of forget what I'm saying. So actually being able to do that and them doing that for me on Teams was so helpful. I was really scared at first about disclosing my neurodivergence, my autism and ADHD, but the interviewers were so open and were so nice. And so, you know, when I told them, they actually said, oh, wow, do you want to tell us more about that? And that's the first time that I've ever felt kind of welcomed and that my kind of neurodivergence was taken seriously and actually really appreciated. And so from the start, my manager knew that, you know, I needed some support, and he still supports me now, and he's very open and very honest, and I'm able to kind of talk to him if I'm struggling. And so he helped me getting the right kind of DSE equipment. So getting a monitor that was smaller than everyone else's because I have issues with sensory input in terms of my eyes. He allows me to wear headphones because sometimes I find the work environment too noisy or too distracting. He also has sort of shared with me about reasonable adjustments that would help me. So I get really anxious when I drive, and having ADHD, I'll get quite distracted. So I get really nervous during kind of really busy times when there's a lot of traffic. So he's made the adjustment for me to my work day, so I can go in earlier and I can finish earlier so that I don't hit that traffic. I don't have a meltdown in the car on the way home. And those sorts of things for me have been really, really useful. And actually CGI is the first place that I've worked at where my kind of some of the things that I struggle with have actually been taken seriously and acknowledged. So that's kind of my experience and my story.
And that's really, really amazing that you've been supported and your managers recognized it. And that's the thing. Often adjustments need to be quite minor, but can make such a huge difference. Like you said, leaving work or starting work a bit early and going, starting early and going early, or starting late and going back home late, or wearing headphones. And it doesn't take much, but it shows. Some people don't ask and don't realize, and it's amazing that you felt comfortable to ask. And I'm guessing you want to reassure people that people can talk about their adjustment or requirements or requests even at interview stage, because remember, people here aren't going to be employees like yourself. They're all going to be candidates, and we want to reassure them that there isn't an issue when they apply.
No, and actually sort of I had sort of links with my manager sort of years ago, and actually it was because I had a different mind and because of the kind of experiences I'd had in the workplace that they said, you know what, we really need you because we need you to tell us, like, what are the barriers? Like, why do people struggle? Like, why are interviews so tough? And actually saying to them, well, you know, offering it on Teams is better because it's more accessible, or letting me sit in an office with my sunglasses on if the lights are too bright. It's just knowing when you're kind of going into that you will be kind of looked out for, and that actually your neurodivergence, your disability will actually be taken seriously and even appreciated and celebrated, because, you know, some minds are different, so we don't think like everyone else, which means we can answer questions differently in interviews and give kind of outside of the box thinking.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you're answering my second question, so let's not ruin it for everyone else. But let's hear from Shantanu. What about yourself?
Okay, thanks. First of all, a big thank you to you guys and Andrew and Lindsay and others in CGI for organizing this and to help with increasing awareness, because I think the IT industry is one of the best place to widen the horizons, if you see what I mean. Other industries may have limitations about access and things like that, whereas with IT, it's less physically risky, and you have various other tools which help you adapt and adjust to things like that. And that allows IT consultancy companies to reach out to a broader talent pool. My personal experience, it was it was more of a health condition thing. I had a long-standing back problem, lower back problem, which probably resulted from long hours of driving to various client offices and things like that. And I found in the last couple of years that more as an experience, I was working for a client, Siemens, and they had standing desks. And while working there, I found that if I stood for most of the day and my lower back stiffness wasn't that prominent, and you still had the flexibility and you could just go about doing your things. And from that experience, after I finished that assignment and then I came on to the current one, I requested for a standing desk, saying I'm probably standing 90% of the time during the day. And even when I go into the office, I choose the, like in our areas, work areas, we have like sort of 1 in 5 or 1 in 8 desks are standing desks, adjustable ones. So I pick those when I go in. And arranging that was quite convenient, as in there's a assessment form that you have to fill in, and then that gets picked up by a team who review the various options available. And I had a call with Mark to discuss those. And then finally, he went on to a procurement website, which gives you the various options available from a vendor site. And I just picked one, and he placed the order, and it was delivered. So since then, I have been, and particularly because we are working from home for almost on an average like 4 days a week, it's a big shift, like from your productivity perspective, and it's just adjusting to your needs, really. In the past, companies have been very regimented about just being in the office and being at a desk. But if you are flexible, it immensely helps with productivity. And in addition to that, there was also like I opted for a different keyboard and a mouse. Again, stemming in from my experience at Siemens, because they were quite like proactive about these things. And rather than have a flat keyboard where you kind of, your elbows are like that, if you have a rounded one, or some people prefer actually a split keyboard where like you have the right hand on one and then you can type faster and you don't end up with the pain at the end of the day. And especially if you're typing a lot during the day, like with code and stuff like that. So again, same thing, Mark pointed me to a few options that were available. On this occasion, the ones I preferred, because I had used them in my previous, on my previous assignment, I knew like for 2 years, I didn't have any difficulty with them. And these two products were not available on the vendor's side. And the manager then went out and purchased it from another source, like placed the order externally and had that delivered. So like, it's been a blessing for me.
No, that's brilliant. And it just sort of shows that, no matter what your requirements are, like CGI will go out the way to help you in this regard. And even though it wasn't available with the vendor, they've gone to do that. And that's brilliant. Thanks for sharing. And finally, Andrew, maybe you could give some insight as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not sure where to start, but also very thankful for the support that I've received at CGI since joining a bit under 2 years ago. I'm a bit older. I still hope I can in touch with younger people, though, through things I do outside of work, with running, as well as having 2 sons who are in their 20s. I also do a bit of tutoring, but anyway, that's not my main job. My main job is software and testing software, as well as running it on machines. And it's been like that for most of my life, really. And I was very grateful that CGI took me on, and even more that I was able to receive support, because I don't have I enjoy good physical health, really. Okay, got a bit of heart trouble, but it doesn't stop me from doing too much, really. I can still do very physical running. But yeah, I do suffer with my mental health, and I suppose autism. I was being an older person, I didn't get diagnosed, and I'm intending to get diagnosed quite soon. So yes, I'll be somewhere in the autism scale. But also I went through another low time last November, I think going from summer to winter. I thought I'd be okay without medication. And I just had a bit of a crash, really. Going from summer to winter with the lack of light, maybe, and coming off medication. So I knew I needed to see my GP. Okay, that wasn't CGI's responsibility, but I went back onto the medication I'd been on before and been better. But I was able to talk with my manager. That's been better than places I've been to before. I was able to talk with my manager and agree a plan. And inside CGI, we call it our workplace passport. So that helps you if you get moved onto other projects. I personally tend to work on jobs which stay working in the same thing on and on and on, which is what I'm doing just now for hopefully year after year. So I maybe don't need a passport as such, but it helps with other people in CGI because they're a gigantic company, and the rest of CGI does more of this project to project sort of work and change. And I think the passport helps with that. Anyway, someone else is going to talk about that. But I did one of those passports, and that's helped. And I'm very encouraged with the networks that are in place, mainly used through Teams, Microsoft Teams, or little chat, ability to chat informally with people. And okay, the actual meetings, I seem to inevitably get drawn into the committee meeting for disabled network, and I'm on it, and I get asked to help with things, which I'm more than happy to do. I enjoy it. What else can I say? Yeah, it's great that the support is there, the networks, the actual management support. Okay, some managers perhaps it depends on the manager, but I've got a really good one, and there are most of the ones I know, all the ones I know are good managers, and it's a big factor, I think, in if you've got an understanding manager. It helps enormously. Yeah.
That's fantastic, Andrew. And thanks for sharing. And I know it can be difficult to share about feeling low and sort of like vulnerabilities that you might experience yourself. But I know it's really appreciated by all the candidates, and will demonstrate to them watching today that CGI will be a place that will support you going through going through any difficult time, or with any help that you might require or assistance. Now, Beth, just with you, and Andrew as well, if you can both comment on this. Do you find, maybe more at you, Beth, your unique stance that you bring, having in your diversity, do you feel that's appreciated by your managers? Do you feel it helps enhance your role and what you can offer?
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny because I think because like Andrew, I was diagnosed quite late, so only in December 2021 as autistic with ADHD, and throughout workplaces before, I would give a different point of view, and they'd be like, "Oh, that doesn't fit. That's a bit strange. Okay, no," and it would be disregarded. Whereas in CGI, when I sort of request these things that might be a little bit out of the box, they go, "Okay, talk us more. What's that about? Let's do that." And so they appreciate a different way of thinking. They appreciate new ideas. They appreciate almost like a different approach, which is something that I've never had myself in a career before. You've always kind of had to go with what the general consensus is, rather than actually going with something a bit different and it, actually succeeding.
And that's fantastic that you feel that viewpoint is appreciated or acknowledged. And you're right, I'm atypical and think in a very similar way. And if everyone thinks in the same way, well, how can you actually make decisions which are a bit out the box? And it's great that now when you do talk, or when you do say something, people think, hang on a sec, oh, that's actually a really excellent idea. Talk us more through it. And you have the chance. And Andrew, I don't know if you have anything similar or an experience or something that resonates with you.
Yeah, sorry, Mohammed, what was the question again? Sorry.
Just how you feel valued, having a neurodiversity or being your unique self at CGI.
Yeah, it's very, very much so. I think it's kind of built into the company somehow. So it's a whole ethos and setup. So it's great that it's so part of the company, and not just people that are quite distant, like managers high up, but managers that you actually come into contact with can tell. And I suppose we each have different abilities, and in a large company, those special abilities can be put to use more easily than they might be in a very small company, I think.
Absolutely, no, that's really great. And thanks so much for sharing. We'll come back to touching on this a little bit later. Now, I'm sure it's a company like CGI, you must have some employee network, maybe like a disability specific employee network. Like, can you tell us more about that? And like what people do when they get involved with it, how to get involved with it if they join? Lindsay, maybe this is you.
I can talk across the whole of the networks that to set the scene, all of the networks that we've set up. So I think we've got 12 networks that set up. Disability is one of them, neurodiverse. We have the Women's Network, Young Men's Health. So there's a variety that sit under that umbrella. And then within that, I work alongside with Andrew on the Disability Network. And then we look at how it's about continuous improvement. So I was going to touch on this a bit later, but the networks are all there to support each population, and is very accessible. So it's accessible through either know-how sessions that we do. People can communicate on Teams if they're looking for support. They can reach out to any of the leads on the Disability Network if they, for example, can you point me in the right direction? Can I share this information? Can I share best practice on Teams? So there's lots of opportunities where people can reach out either on a one-to-one basis with their manager. And I was going to chat a wee bit about that later on, but yeah, there's definitely lots of forums there for people to access. I don't know, Andrew, you obviously work with you on that as well. So we do have our strategy for each network, and then within there, almost like a business plan in terms of that continuous improvement, please.
That's brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Lindsay. And yeah, like it's good to know that there's a variety of networks and that people can tap into and get that support and meet like-minded people that are there, so they don't feel isolated. And it's so important. And especially with oh my goodness, it's a sign of age when your mind goes blank suddenly, isn't it? So
yeah, well,
I know. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, that's fine. What can you do when you forget live on air? But we'll move on.
Well, did you want me to talk about the Disability Network?
Yes, please, if you can as well.
I mean, Lindsay said about it as well, but I think it's just helpful. It's really easy to find out about within the company. There are these know-how sessions, which are just usually Teams presentations, or it could be using something else. Either way, it's a session on some topic. And it's not necessarily health related, it could be all sorts of things. But it's easy to just tune into these things and sometimes maybe not listen necessarily very much, but sometimes it can be really relevant, in which case, yeah, you do want to maybe stop what you're doing and listen to them, and join in even. No, the Disability Network, sorry.
Go on.
Just going to say the Disability Network, I've only been here less than 2 years, so I don't know if it existed before maybe, but round about lockdown, I think a lot of the Teams networks were set up because it was easier to get them going within Microsoft Teams, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway, round about the time I joined, going into lockdown, it was all getting going, I think. And I offered to help and sit in. And one of the things is that in the monthly meetings that we have, you're able to speak with people who might be higher up, and so they can maybe give you that perspective of what it, they can maybe listen to what we think might be a good idea, or they might tell us why something is or is not happening. So it's a good way of interacting with people who could change things, as well as pushing for change ourselves. Not that there's a need for massive change, but sometimes there is a need for change.
Yeah, absolutely.
These changes can be bounced off people who can speak to people in high up places.
Absolutely, and that's fantastic. And as we go through this, please do give comments in the chat box, add your questions in. We will come to them in about the next sort of 10 or 15 minutes or so. Now, all of CGI's jobs are available on the Even Break website, so do check them out on there. But the important question is, and I'm sure what a lot of people here are wondering, is what does that recruitment process look like? Like what do people need to do typically? And how can we make your application stand out? And here I'm also gonna go to Beth to get her perspective, because you had a really interesting story about how you applied, and I want to tap into that a bit more. But yeah, firstly, what is the process of applying, and what tips can you give?
Sure. Yeah. So like you said, all our jobs are advertised on the Even Break site. Obviously, that gives a sort of further layer of support in terms of application. But essentially, when you've identified a role of potential interest, as part of that application process, there'll be some standard questions you need to just complete around your salary expectations and notice period, and also whether you're comfortable being put through a level of sort of vetting and clearance as part of a lot of the government work that we do. We do look at probably the majority of our candidates needing to be clearable, able to go through security clearance vetting.
Can I just jump in on that quickly?
Yeah, you can.
Because I wanted to touch on that later. With that security clearance, I know there'll be people here I know there'll be people on this call today concerned that because of their disability, because of their health condition, because of anything that's happened in the past or a gap on their CV, they won't pass security clearance. Can you give reassurances that things like disability won't be held against them?
Yeah, so I think there's the question is having a disability a barrier to passing security clearances required at CGI? I think the short answer is no, but it's good just to understand that the wider context of what we look at really. So I mean, CGI aligns its policy to that of UK security vetting in relation to health. So that means applicants need to declare any prescription medication or pre-existing conditions to the authority. And they in turn will undertake medical reviews in accordance with the current policy, and that's designed to make sure that the department's duty of care to protecting its assets and classify material as fair, robust, and fit for purpose. So I guess that's the sort of stock answer. In terms of medical diagnosis, I think that there's a few conditions that they're interested in exploring. For national security vetting, it could be conditions that change mood and behaviour, or those that could result in sudden incapacitation and unconsciousness. But really, it's more around the sort of the consequences of CGI members, line managers have that duty of care just to make sure, that the support is there in terms of such conditions, and that while in possession of marked assets or the risk that's there, such an occurrence wouldn't compromise sensitive assets and data, and that's the main piece really. I mean, and that's I guess specific to disability. I mean, outside of that, with a security clearance, the general barriers that would apply to all, and it does cut down a large swathe of our eligible talent pool, I would say, whether you have a disability or not.
Yeah.
There's stuff around marital status. If a person's partner is a UK resident or hasn't been naturalised, if your parents are from a blacklisted sort of security country, if you've got siblings who sort of come from a blacklisted security country, there's other stuff in terms of poor references or criminal convictions, not spent convictions. If you've been out of the country for an extended period of time, but that's all part of security clearance generally, and
of course,
to any specific disabilities as such. So I think that the short answer is no, but it just gives you a little bit more context.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's really helpful.
Some areas of our business where we don't require security clearance, and that tends to be more in our telecoms and utilities business. But I think that's the nature of what we do. We're a consultancy, and if a program of work comes to an end, at some point you're going to roll off that to move on to other work, which may require security clearance. So hence the need is there. But I think coming back to the sort of the broader question outside of SC and just the recruitment process, at point of application, whether that's through the Even Break site or on our careers site, there's an opportunity early on there to ask for support, or just outline any support you might need through Clear Talents, which is a system that we use, and that allows applicants to be able to outline any kind of support they feel they need through the recruitment process or indeed in work. And that information, obviously declared by applicants, is obviously taken very seriously, and all the support that we can provide, whether it's in the application process or interview process, or indeed when people start. And obviously Beth and Andrew talked about, once you're in the business as well, there's another version of the system that's used to sort of assess your support required once in the place of work. So I guess there's a sort of a pre-joining CGI interview piece where we use Clear Talents to assess support in the interview process, and then there's a post-joining CGI where Clear Talents is used to outline any support in the workplace. But generally, there would be an initial post review of an application, which would be normally a CV, potentially a covering letter, and completing a small questionnaire on things like the clearance and salary expectations. A one-stage call with a member of my team, just to talk through the reasons for applying and understand a little bit more about experience that an individual may have and their aspirations. Following that, shortlisted for interview. Generally, we're at one-stage interview at the moment with most areas in the business. I think it's fair to say that pace and flexibility are the sort of key requirements for any employer in the UK at the moment, because the IT recruitment market has never been more competitive. So the longer we take to make decisions, and the more barriers we put in the place of assessing individuals, I guess it's not going to help CGI as an employer. So relatively agile, relatively minimal stage assessments, and sort of full support and engagement with the recruitment team throughout that process.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Andrew, for touching on that. And Beth, like, you got encouraged to apply. Like, what tips would you give people who want to apply? Like, should they talk about their neurodiversity, their condition, and how it makes them different? Not different, but how it gives them unique perspectives on things, how they've learned other skills of being resilient or whatever it might be. Like what would you say? What did you do?
That's a really good question, and actually it's a very personal one, because there will be some people who are like, I don't want to tell people that just in case 100%. They judge me for it, but
100%.
And I felt like that, I really honestly did. And then, like, when I got contacted and said, you should apply for this job, and I was like, okay, but you do know like about these things, and they were like, yeah, we do, and we need you, so apply for this job. And so, throughout the process, the recruitment chap from CGI was amazing. I asked so many questions. I'm a woman with lots of questions, but that was one of the things I would say to people: don't be afraid to ask questions, don't be afraid to ask for help, because when I saw kind of the volume of things I had to fill out in terms of security, I did get a little bit overwhelmed, but because CGI were there and I could ring the guy and be like, okay, I don't understand what this is. And, you know, I even had a panic because I said, oh my goodness, it says about gaps in employment. And I've, you know, had quite a lot of gaps because I've had meltdowns and then had to leave jobs. And it looks, you know, I've always panicked about it looking bad. Actually, he said, it's fine. It's okay. Like, you know, we know why your employment, you know, it's good, it's fine. And we're okay with it. That's not going to stop us from wanting you to apply, which was really good to hear, because I think if you've ever been in that position where you've had a job, you've burnt yourself out, you've gone into meltdown, you go into shutdown, and then you leave, you always have this thought in your mind, I'm not good enough. And actually for someone, an employer, somebody quite kind of almost like prestigious to say, no, it's fine, we want to know, what are your strengths? What can you do? And I think if you know, within neurodivergence, it's amazing when somebody says to you, what are the really good things you can do? Instead of, what are the things that have let you down? What are the things you struggle with? It's actually really kind of refreshing to hear somebody say, you know, tell us, you know, you've got ADHD, what does that mean? Like, oh, well, you know, actually talk quite a lot, but, you know, it's a good thing because, you know, starting conversations and, you know, that sort of thing, hyper focus, really good because I can do, you know, get my head down, do tasks without breaking that focus. So it's just focusing on those things that make you, but are really like positive. And I think, you know, when we've been through the diagnosis process for both autism and ADHD, it's always about what can't you do, instead of actually what can you do, what are you really good at? Like, have you got a really keen interest in IT? Like, is there a specific area you are really good at? And it's amazing to have somebody say that to you from a professional perspective. So I hope people don't get put off applying, because it's a safe process.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Beth, for sharing. And Andrew, like, I know there's a question in the Q&A talking about transferable experience, having IT experience. It'd be really good if you can talk a little bit about, do you have to be a specialist in the area to join, or can people bring transferable skills? What if they've got no experience? Can they be trained up? Like, what's typically your requirement?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give you a typical requirement because there's such a diverse set of technical skills that we recruit for. But, you know, what I would say in terms of sort of routes into the business, certainly with our sort of early careers approach, or individuals with less experience, you know, more and more we're looking to other organizations that are helping people back into the workplace through, you know, who are interested specifically in IT. And, you know, there's a lot of government funded organizations that are running boot camps, sort of 12-week boot camps, which have sort of kicked off through the pandemic in a whole range of disciplines, you know, software dev and testing, sorts of other areas. You know, the providers that we're working with, companies like QA and Firebrand, who are offering those kind of traineeships and free boot camps to train people up, and we're using those as a route into our early careers recruitment process. So, you know, I think go on the career site and look at, you know, some of those programs as well, which, you know, could be an individual that wants to go down a graduate apprentice route, you know, where the companies are actually funding you to study for a particular technical degree.
Absolutely.
And you're being paid to do that, you know, working for sort of 4 days a week, studying for one. You know, we have graduate positions as well, but, you know, just the entry level roles where you've got maybe no particular interest in studying, you know, we're still looking at bringing individuals in through those types of organizations where you're given a boot camp, and then, you know, it's about your aspirations and you know, the broader things that you bring to role and just technical skills.
That's fantastic. That's really, really good. I know we've got a couple more questions, for the panel, but we've got quite a few questions in the chat and stuff. So I just want to take stock because I'm mindful of time. And I think it's really, really important to get some of these candidate questions answered. So I don't know, Andrew, if you'd like to read out some of the questions in the chat, and then people can respond.
Just having a quick look through.
Yeah.
There's quite a few though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best place to, and I know there's one particularly around, like, do you support people with MS?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is, yeah, all sort of disabilities are supported. It's just a case of outlining, you know, what kind of support you need when applying for the role, really. Nothing would preclude you.
Brilliant. And there's another one here around, do you share your internal values with your wider clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Andrew, Beth as very much client-facing individuals, or Shatanu, Andrew. I don't know whether you've got a view on that in terms of CGI cultural values and working with clients.
In terms of CGI's core values, we have the partnership and quality and those things. We try to work closely with our clients and almost as like pretty much as part of the same team. So once we are there working with the clients, you can't really tell one whether we are like the CGI employees or the client staff. So we try to integrate, understand the challenges they are facing and work out solutions for that.
That's really, really good. There was another question about hearing from the panel about adjustments you've had in interview. And I know we've covered that, but if you want more information on that, please do just comment in the chat box. And I'm sure Beth and Andrew will be happy to share in more detail. There's another question here about a candidate that's got over 20 years experience in different domains. I'm presuming they're talking about Java and different software. I'm not the technical person, so these words mean a bit of jargon to me, but they don't have any IT qualifications. Is that a barrier to entering?
The qualifications piece, I would say, is less of a requirement. You know, the hands-on experience, you know, working in those technical disciplines in you know, various industries is what's of interest. Really, I mean, there'll be certain roles where qualifications are required for reasons, but you know, the broad piece in terms of, you know, the wider roles that we have, you know, qualification isn't necessarily a barrier.
No, brilliant. So that's really good to know. So like, obviously depends on the role, but typically speaking, like you are more interested in experience than qualifications. Yes. Or they might not always be the case. So I think someone's going to jump in, and
yes, Andrew Hislop. Yeah, well, I think Narinder, yeah, you must have a lot of experience, because you said about AWF cloud data engineer. Well, you have already got IT experience. I don't know if you may not have qualifications, but you certainly have the experience.
So that's brilliant.
Good.
Thanks for confirming and clarifying that. As I said, like I'm not the technical one, so this stuff looks like gobbledygook to me.
Sorry, Mohammed, I was going to say as well about transferable skills, and both Andrews are saying. I have no like training like properly from like a degree or anything in health and wellbeing. Mine is based on my personal experience and like what I'm kind of been doing. So actually, like, I've had to do a load of transferable skills because I'm not qualified in terms of NHS or anything like that. But they were more kind of interested, as the guys have said, more in the skills rather than kind of the education or anything like that. So that's how it kind of worked for me, which is.
No, that's really, really good. Thanks so much for sharing. Carry on.
I'll quickly add something else as well. That going back to the aspect of neurodiversity, some of the areas where people with those conditions really thrive because of their different problem-solving abilities, is scientific and space applications and things like that. And I've worked on teams where they arrive at a solution which we have never thought of and is more efficient. So it's those things to look out for. There are places where people with those conditions can actually be thriving.
Yeah. Especially in computing, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, all the geeks in our teams have been similar background.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. Also, one more question. Is there anyone who candidates can reach out to if they want to discuss roles in more detail? Or is it better to go through the Even Break website? Like, I don't know, Andrew Mack, perhaps for you to decide.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, go through Even Break website. I mean, everyone's got my details. So, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anyone. Not a problem.
That would be fantastic. Maybe if you're happy with that, Andrew, you could just share your LinkedIn in the chat for the benefit of candidates. Whilst we do the last couple of questions, we'll have to be quite quick because I'm mindful of time. But just want to know, like, at CGI, you've done so much already, but going forward, like, what are your future plans for inclusive practice development? Because I'm sure you don't want to stand still, because no organization wants to stand still. We want to continuously improve. And maybe Lindsay, you can touch on this.
Sure, yeah. So I think I touched on it earlier. We have if we start at the top, a global strategy for diversity, equality and inclusion. And that's broken down into different countries across the globe. And then we form our own strategy. So we are looking at things like our partnerships, specifically in the disability space, partnerships or external partnerships, i.e. with Even Break, what government bodies, so we're keeping across the legislation and making sure we're compliant. We've got, we're testing our own processes just now with recruitment, promotion by an external auditor to make sure that we're making sure we are consistent in our approach, but also we're making sure that we are doing the right thing by the process. Development, I'm trying to be quick here. Development, we have done a lot of know-how sessions. Again, we've brought external experts in and we call them know-how sessions. They're across the UK that every member can join, ask questions with the experts, and we do them on a regular basis. Again, we've got events calendars that come up. So again, people can come and join, participate on any one of the particular networks, specifically around disability. We look at our reporting on disability as well, which is something that we've done recently. And Beth has obviously alluded to this before. We have acquired a company some time ago called Oxygen on a global level. And this offers a wide range, as I've not seen anything like it in another organisation. And this ranges from your adjustments passport, your clear talents assessment. So for you as an individual, or if you need any support, if it's equipment support or that you need as well, you can go through that. And we've got a fantastic member assistance program as well, and that's a one-to-one support there if somebody's struggling, that's offered to them as well. So we've touched on as well, we've got a dedicated disability network Teams, so people can actually just put questions into the chat on this Teams, a UK Teams, and then it's interesting because other people can say, well, I've had that experience, this is where I learned, and so they're sharing best practice, giving advice to each other. So I'm just obviously just summarising here, but this is that's a wide list of activities that's built into a strategy that we execute, but it's down at ground level, if so to speak. So we're listening to what people are looking for as they go through each one of these processes or experiences, and we feed that back up through the strategies to make sure that we're listening and making sure that we're continually improving what we're doing. It's a learning stage on an ongoing basis, and we can only do that by listening to our members. Oh, I think you're on mute.
We all do it, don't we? We never learn, even though we've been working online for ages and ages. That's brilliant. Just a quick one. Andrew, I think your chat message didn't go through to everyone. You might want to resend it. I am mindful of time, so hopefully one-line answers for this. Final question to everyone. One-line answer. What's the best thing about working at CGI? Beth.
Sorry, I was having a mare. Being appreciated and celebrated for your talent.
Andrew Hisler.
Okay, the interesting work.
Santu? Santu?
Yeah, there's the interesting work we do, the support and the cooperation. There's the understanding that even the senior management shows to back you up, like kind of facilitate and help you with, like, give you the speed to get the things done quickly.
Brilliant. Lindsay?
For me, the respect and the creativity and autonomy to support our members.
Andrew Mack.
Yeah, I'd repeat Lindsay, really. Autonomy and I guess the membership culture that we have, you feel very much part of, something bigger than yourself, but you have a voice in.
Brilliant. Now, thank you everyone for joining today. My colleague Toby is going to share a feedback link in the chat. If you can please leave feedback, because we want to know what you thought of the event, how we can improve future events. If there's anything that wasn't resolved from today that you would like to find out in the future, please do put it onto the feedback sheet, as we'd love to help you going forward. As we've mentioned, all of CGI's jobs are available on the Even Break website, so do check it out. If you want any career support to help, you can also go to the Career Hive, Even with Career Hive, and we can give you support with those applications. And if you would like to talk about a specific role or reach out, do reach out to Andrew on LinkedIn, as he's very kindly offered. Beyond that, we have another event coming up in June with the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. So please do join along to that and keep an eye on the events page, because there'll be many, many more events to come going forward. Thank you to everyone today and to our BSL interpreter and captioner. And I hope you will all apply for jobs at CGI soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.